Hi, I'm Leon Griffin. Before you purchase my raw power centrifuge, I want to show you exactly what you're going to get and how easy it is to put together. The first thing you should do is unpack the unit and make sure that you have everything. There's a list of parts that you should have in the back of the manual. We're going to start with the base of the centrifuge and install the drain ports. I provided 3/4 inch 90-degree pipe fittings. All the pipe fittings require thread sealing tape. I've provided that for you. I'm not going to put it on in this demonstration because I'm just going to have to take it back apart anyway. So without further ado, both of these, the inner one here is for the drain or the sump or overflow. Typically you're going to want these things pointing outwards, but your installation may be having both of them pointing in the same direction. That's going to be up to you and your ultimate layout plan. It's a 3/4 inch hose fitting. A little extra leverage. I said usually you're going to want these opposing. In this case, that's what we're going to do. You may want them other ways. Next, we're going to get into the legs. The rubber isolators are great for isolating noise and minor vibration. We'll put those on now. Get the cam latches on. There's no adjustment in the latches, so you don't have to worry about them being tensioned or anything like that. We now have the base assembled, and we'll move on to the lid here for now. Set that aside. See, there's 3 threaded ports in the lid. You're only going to be using 2 of them right now, but this was designed this way for future expansion. I want to make sure that if I come up with some wonderful new plans, that you have a unit that's easily upgradable. So without further ado, we'll plug one of the outside ports, put a vent to keep any kind of a pressure or vapor lock from stopping the flow into the centrifuge. Typically you're going to be running these on gravity, and a small pressure, high pressure in the centrifuge could cause problems, so we'll vent it with this. And next we're going to use the 90-degree NPT fitting. You don't have to, but of course it's for your use, and I'll demonstrate the installation of that. There you go. Put this on the underside, we've got a restrictor going down from 3/4 inch to 1/4 inch NPT. This goes on the underside of the inlet to reduce the potential for flooding the unit by opening up your valve wide open. 3/4 inch is going to be way too much for the centrifuge to handle. So we restrict it to 1/4 inch and then further restrict it down to 1/4 inch flared tube fitting. You can change this fitting if you choose to next size up or even next size down if you so choose, but that's the smallest orifice in the centrifuge. It's a 1/4 inch tube fitting. So that's the lid built up. Now we'll complete the motor mounting. This works for a convenient booster seat for the motor. We'll set that right there. Get things lined up. Before you add the cap screws, make sure you add the O-rings. Don't forget the O-rings, you'll get leaks. The O-rings go down onto the seats. You can put them there in advance. They should sit nicely. And then the cap screws go in. You're probably going to need to tighten things down a little more than what I'm doing here for demonstration purposes, but you get the idea. All right. So I'm going to lay this over and we'll show you the buildup of the rotor. To start is a Viton V-ring seal. This goes down over the shaft of the motor and seals up against the face of the enclosure bowl. So it should touch like so. It's a little hard to get on, but you'll get the impression. It just touches. So with the writing or the printing facing out, you're going to want to just nudge this thing down so it's nice and even and just touching the machine surface of the enclosure. You spin it around, make sure it's not crushed up on there, but just barely touching there. That's just right. Give a couple spins, make sure it looks good. Next is a locking collar. The locking collar holds the position of the rotor so that when you take it off to clean it, you don't have to worry about the adjustment to the height of the rotor when you lock it down with the lock nut. So we'll get this on here now. Yeah. I've set that just down onto the seal just to check to see how this is going to feel. I'm going to check the height here. You'll probably find doing this. Yeah, I can see a little bit of a gap, maybe a 1/16 of an inch between the casting and the rotor. It's about right. So I'll call that good, and I'll tighten this down. Now the trans-torque locking bushing goes on. It's like that. Like so. I'll tighten up. We'll get a wrench on there. And you tighten it by hand firmly. That's about it. You don't want to get an impact or anything weird like that on here. It's just good, strong, hand tight. 20 foot-pounds about is what it is, and that should be perfect. And the final piece, Viton O-ring for the top. We'll just lay that in the groove here. That should sit. And finally the lid. Get our latches up there. One complete raw power centrifuge.
Yeah.